Let's talk about formatting our text for output. Let's take, for example, this loop. This loop is going to print basically 10 to the 7th power, 10 to the 8th power, 10 to the 9th power, and 10 to the 10th power. We're starting at 7. We're stopping before we get to 11. It's going to print the exponent and then the value. So let's look at what this looks like. Now, this is not how humans like to read data, especially with all these zeros. We would expect them to be right aligned in some way. So we can use the format operator, which is a percent sign, just like the modulus operator, to help us format this data so that it's easier to read, basically. Okay, so when using the format operator, we need to specify basically how wide we want our column. So if we do %6, and then this, what we're about to use will be text, so we're going to say S for string. And then we use the percent sign and say, hey, we want to print 4, okay? If we enter that, see it's 6 spaces total, so there's 2 empty spaces there. So this does right align. The S, it's a positive number, so that's going to be right aligned, and the S is for string. If we want to do left alignment, we do a negative number. So it's the same process, and now it's left aligned, and there's 2 empty spaces there. So if we want to redo this loop so that our exponents are left aligned and then the value of 10 to that power is right aligned, we can do something that looks like this. So we're saying we want basically 3 spaces in a column, which will hold this. And since we have a negative number here, it's going to be left aligned. And then another percent sign for our next column, which will be basically 12 spaces. And the D means that we're using a numeric value. S means we're using a string. So let's see what this outputs. And now we have it right aligned and left aligned. Okay, so again, this is your format operator. This number represents how many spaces you want in your column or your field. Negative means left aligned, positive means right aligned. We use a D if it's numbers, we use an S if it's a string. Okay, then we do the percent sign and whatever we want to print. We can also use the format operator to help us with precision decimal positions. So say we want a certain number of decimals to be the output. The reason that this might be important is because say we have a money amount, like salary at $100. If we print salary, it doesn't print all those decimal places. So we could change that. So let's look at how we could do that. Your salary is, and we want it to print the dollar sign. Okay, so we need to use our format operator. We need to say how wide we want the column. In this case, we don't want any spacing between the dollar and the value, so we put a 0. We do decimal, how many decimals we want. It's money, we want 2 decimals. What type of data is this? Well, we're going to say it's a float, F. And then we just do our format operator and what we want to print. Oh, well, you see what I did wrong there. I should have had a space there. It should have looked like this. Okay, there we go. Now, we could also do this to add extra decimal places. So let's say we had a variable called pi value, and maybe it's just 3.14, and we wanted some extra decimals added on the end of that. So we could do print, let's say format operator. How big do we want our field? Let's say we want it 10. How many decimals? Let's say we want 4 decimals. It's a float. And then format operator again, and the variable name to print. Okay, so that added some extra spaces in front, so this whole field is actually 10 spaces wide, and then we have 2 extra zeros on the end.